So guys, what we're going to be sharing today, I'm going to be sharing the 5 top tips I got from our Airbnb account manager. They shared lots of cool statistics, not just for our listings, and we'll explain what happened at the meeting in a second, but the 7 most common mistakes hosts are currently making now. I'm going to share something quite personal about the business. The biggest mistake I've made with Pillow this year. And then we'll finish. A lot of people asking, how come you've got an Airbnb account manager? Why are Airbnb flying up to see you guys, Scott? How can we get this? So I will share that with you at the end. So I'm going to highlight some of the improvements they suggested for us, and also bring you some things that are general patterns across the UK and the world on how to maximize your listing. We're starting the first segment with the 5 top tips direct from Airbnb. And the first one, the major one, and again, this is for our portfolio as well, is reevaluate your pricing and your cleaning fees. If you follow the Airbnb, then you'll notice that a bit of a bone of contention is the old cleaning fees, very much like, and I always explain it to our hosts, if you put a price on for an airline and it's $14.99 to get to Prague, but yet when you check out it's £200, that annoys a lot of people. It pisses people off and they can't abandonment at that stage. For flights, you promised this at this price, but actually that takes it above. So people were pricing properties really low, but adding that cleaning fee at the end. So Airbnb have changed all this, and essentially they want open and fair, transparent pricing. Again, that's fine. They're protecting the consumer, the guest, and they want us to do that as hosts. So totally fine. So Airbnb want you to make your prices as appealing as possible. Now, I'm going to drill down on this a bit, guys, regarding smart pricing. What I'm not saying is lower your pricing to crazy low rates. That's not what Airbnb were suggesting. What I'm saying here is they want you to price your properties right. So lots of mistakes that people make are pricing it with super high cleaning fees, low nightly rates. So there's ways to tweak this, and I don't have time to cover it here. We looked at our hundreds and hundreds of properties and thought, what is the best? Some hosts we manage for other people, so we don't have the ultimate decision in many cases. Pricing, guys, we need to really look at this. Airbnb want you to get this right. It's in Airbnb's interest for you to get this right, for you to make more money. Sometimes hosts would see Airbnb as an enemy and think, well, they're there for the guests and not for hosts. Different for us because we have an account manager, guys. So, sorry, I'm just trying to read the questions. Different for me because we've got an account manager. So they are there for big hosts like Pillow a lot more than individual hosts. But there's general rules, principles, and algorithms to promote your property. And I'm going to use the word algorithm. If you're writing anything down and you're taking one nugget away today, I want you to write down the word algorithm. It is all about working the algorithm and making sure your property gets maximum visibility. And pricing is the way to do that. I suspect if you've got a super, super high cleaning fee, then the algorithm's not going to work in your favor. Remember, you have competition in the market, guys, so we need to make sure you get up those rankings. So number 1 there is reevaluate your pricing and cleaning fees. We deep dived into hundreds of properties. We saw behind the scenes the actual kind of coding and bits and bobs of Airbnb rather than our front-facing system. We saw the analytics and things broken down into 10 decimal places. So it was really, really interesting. And the margins of bookings, well, what if you could get 5% more, 10%, 20% more just by charging the same? You're making the same over a month, guys, but you're tweaking your nightly rates and your pricing. Now, I can't cover all of that in the call. We deep dived into our units. We're distributing that to our team, and all our property managers across the UK will look at every individual listing. And if we can tweak the pricing, and we'll get our hosts the same, sometimes more, but we need to adjust the mix between pricing. We need to lower the price to get more money. Does that make sense? So we looked at some of our listings, and we know, based on the statistics and the secret sauce of Airbnb, that by lowering our prices, we would get more bookings for our hosts. Now, I need to say that again. Make more money by lowering your pricing. Why? Well, it's not as competitive as other properties in the area. This isn't from Airbnb. This is from me. Guys, the staycation boom after the pandemic gone. So we need to be realistic with our pricing. So sometimes on Airbnb and other platforms, you can lower your pricing and make more money in a month. Counterintuitive, but there you are, and that is number one. Number two is something that they call merchandising. We need to get into merchandising, and I don't mean socks and merch and cups and Pillow Partners branded cups, but merchandising of your listing. And that includes promotions. So it would be certain promotions you can tinker in with the things to give special offers. New listing promotions is one, and to try and get more bookings very, very fast. Again, we're going back to working the algorithms, guys. And then discounts for weekly and monthly. And being honest, some of our properties, when I started Pillow many years ago, I put massive discounts on for monthly bookings, because I would know, coming from the residential lettings background, guys, that if we had a long-term booking, corporate lettings, we did this 20 years ago, we were doing service accommodation. We didn't call it service accommodation. Airbnb wasn't around then, but I knew if I could get long-term bookings for a month or so, it would make much more money than cleaning fees of up and down high nightly rates and 10 bookings a month, or in some cases, 2 bookings a week. Lots. We don't want those bookings if we can get long bookings, but we want to discount that. So there's some tweaks we did behind the scenes to offer a big discount for a week and an even bigger discount for a month. And guys, there'll be some of my hosts watching this that don't want to give those discounts. Airbnb tell me the figures. We saw all the statistics. I can't share what those statistics are, unfortunately, but you would not believe offering those weekly and monthly promotions make a massive difference. And that is number 2, guys. Number 3 here is the minimum lead time, the booking time. You want to make that as close as possible. Nobody likes same-day bookings. That is disastrous in some areas. If you take same-day bookings on a platform like Booking.com, for example, and cities in London, you're leaving yourself open to mad parties. But check your listings, guys. Is your lead time too far away? We don't want last-minute bookings. We probably don't want same-day bookings. But what is your booking window? Because some of our units were 3 days, and they were 3 days because the host wanted it 3 days in advance. As a host that's doing your own cleaning, you may need to go and clean it yourself, and you want that gap. You want 3 days. You don't want a last minute booking and somebody checks in tonight and you need to go and clean it. So Airbnb tell me that is a change in demographics, meaning last minute bookings or bookings 20 within 3 days, guys. So some of our properties that fell out with that 3 day windows. Again, the statistics of how much more revenue we could get hosts. So there was some properties we had to go to owners and say, you need to up your cleaning fees, you need another cleaning team, you need to do something else, because statistically you could make 15% more on Airbnb by lowering that lead time. So if you can, guys, and your logistics allow it, make sure your lead time is as close as possible. And I'm not suggesting same day bookings, but if you can, probably the risk of taking same day bookings, remember you get air cover. So if there is a last minute booking and it goes wrong, you should get cover from Airbnb. So that lead time needs to be as close as possible. Don't have a 3 day lead window. Next one here, guys, is all about cancellation policies. They advise you move from strict to firm. Now, I know, guys, put it in the chat. Strict to firm. I know some people will rebel against that. Generally, as a management company, we want to get the maximum amount of protection for our hosts. And by that, we want the maximum, the most strictest cancellation policy. I think they've done away with super strict, if I took my notes right. So it's now strict. If you move that to firm, you will get between 9 and 20% more bookings. So let me tell you those figures again. By taking a little bit of a risk from strict cancellation policies to firm, I'm not going to go into what the difference is. But guys, our advice for our portfolios, we would get, and we looked at the statistics, between 9 and 20% more bookings by changing the cancellation policy. Would that put your risk factor up a little bit more than 9 to 20%? I'm going to suggest no. So these are tips from Airbnb. Yes, Airbnb may be biased towards the guest, but in our instance, they want us to make the maximum amount of revenue for our hosts. Why? Because if they can give us advice to make maximum amount of revenue for our hundreds and hundreds of hosts, they get more money. So the advice that we get is slightly different to what may be given to the average person. So think about changing your cancellation policies. I know a lot of hosts watching, and a lot of our hosts, when we went back and told them that, no, we want the maximum amount. We don't want guests to be able to get 50% of their money back, because you're opening yourself up to some liability, guys. So I get that danger. But this is what Airbnb are saying in the statistics of between 9 and 20% for us as a management company. We will advise some properties, some owners, some properties, we're not going to change it because we know the risk is quite high for that unit in that area. But have a look at your units, guys, and see, is it worth it? Would you like a 20% uplift just by taking a little bit of extra risk with the cancellation policies? And there's other bits and pieces you can do. I don't have time to go into it here, but there's other menu settings you can go in and do. I think I'm going to share that in the next segment for you guys, so I won't double it up. I'm going to move on to final 5. This is tip number 5 of the 5 top tips Airbnb told me. This is a simple one, guys. This is so simple. Go into your listings and make sure you've clicked all the amenities. One of the biggest mistakes from hosts is not clicking the amenities. Go in. Some of the things they said for a pattern across the UK, dedicated workspaces, guys. If you don't have a dedicated workspace, by putting a dedicated workspace in, whether that's a little table somewhere, you probably have one. Don't lie in your listings, guys, because that's going to get you bad reviews. They were very clear on that. Don't just click these. So I'm saying make sure you have these clicked. Only click them if they apply. And guys, make sure that if you know you can get a wee couple of percentage increase here by doing this, why wouldn't you put a desk in? So dedicated workspaces, one. Cooking basics. Well, I would have thought everybody would have cooking basics. Surely every Airbnb in the UK has cooking basics. Turns out that not a lot of people click that button. So make sure, 1, you do click the button, and 2, that you have the cooking basics. Wi-Fi is another one. There was a few of our listings that didn't have the Wi-Fi clicked. Not in this visit, but in the last visit we had none this year. But last year, when the Booking.com Airbnb came up to see us, a couple of our units didn't have Wi-Fi clicked. That may have affected the visibility on the listing. So now we 100% make sure it has Wi-Fi. Guys, a top tip here as well. Don't just click Wi-Fi. Don't spend money on cheap Wi-Fi. Make sure you're getting the best Wi-Fi. Of all the things that you'll get complaints for, bad Wi-Fi is one of them. So guys, definitely look at that. TV as well. So this was an interesting one for us, because you pulled up that of our hundreds and hundreds of listings, 10 of your TVs don't have, 10 of your properties don't have TVs. And we looked, and 10 of them didn't have TVs listed, but 10 of them didn't have TVs. So our listings were right, because we looked and double checked, and the owners didn't have TVs. But this is something people are looking for. So not having a TV would affect your search rankings. Now, I'm not saying put a TV in if your property doesn't have one, but just think about it. And definitely don't put TV if you don't have one as well. And self-check-in, that's something you need to make very, very clear. So some people aren't clicking the self-check-in, or it's mixed. Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But self-check-in is something that people want. Guys, thank you for watching this content. It means a lot, not just for Pillow Partners, a business, but our associated charity, Pillow Safe Havens. Every like, every comment, every share really, really matters. Subscribe to Pillow, follow us, but also to Pillow Safe Havens and all our other websites. It really, really will make a difference in the communities where we manage properties.